Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. So nice of you to join me. Everyone's getting into the chat room already. Over on YouTube, best place to chat. If you're on Twitch, if you're on X, if you're on any of those places, they're great to watch. But if you want to chat and engage with all the amazing chatters that we get in the chat room and Canada Heavy Hall, you can do that over on YouTube. BZ's in the chat, Bard's in the chat, Phantom's in the chat, Canada Heavy Hall number 500 is in the chat. Jersey Joe was first this evening, so I expect a report on why everybody else was tardy before the end of the show. Got a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, starting off with the hardest news. For those, all right, I'll get to the hard news in a second, but I love the fact, and I'm going to tell a quick little story for those who don't know. The Phantom and Canada Heavy Hall were each waiting to hit 500 so they could get the little giveaway that we did. We just did a little giveaway. So they were each like holding off to subscribe to the YouTube channel until they hit 500. And now it's become this rivalry between them that plays out in our chat room in a very fun way all the time, and I definitely appreciate that. Mission Ready Men, sir, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I know you got a lot going on, so the fact that you're here makes my night, as well as the bloviating Zeppelin, who is back large and in charge. His the Black Pearl has been resurrected, so he's back on his normal time. Big E and Mission Ready Men we'll be back Thursday. He was going to do a special on Wednesday. He's still got a lot of things going on schedule-wise, but he will be back Thursday, just so everyone's clear, and that will be at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon on the East Coast. Thank you. My name is Sean. This is the Edge of Liberty. Let's get right down to it because I get a ton to cover and I won't have enough time. First, the horrific flooding that took place in Texas. At last check, there was 104 people killed by the rising waters. 41 still remain missing, including the majority of the girls from the Camp Mystic, the 28 girls. Up to 20 inches of rain fell in 24 hours. The Guadalupe River surged to over 20 feet in less than 2 hours. Think about that, 20 feet in a river rise in less than 2 hours. And that wasn't the first time this happened. It happened once before in 1987, where 10 people were killed, including campers. There was flood watches issued. There was a flash flood warning issued. The local alert system was not funded by local authorities, the siren and whatnot. So that's something that's going to have to be investigated. And it was just truly tragic, absolutely tragic for all of those people, but especially to lose 28 young people so tragically and horribly, and in just a manner that is just unimaginable. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the family in Texas, all the families. Hopefully the incoming weather isn't as bad, but they're supposed to be getting more rain this week from what I understand. And of course, we have this awful tragedy that everyone's trying to deal with. And they're still trying to, they haven't even finished the recovery yet. Never mind putting their people back together, putting their lives back together. Hey, Mike's in the chat. Thanks, Mike, for being here. We're to this point where it's still the recovery mode, and you still have these first responders and these volunteers searching for the missing. And it's amazing and disgusting to me how quickly people have turned this political. And when I tell you that there is something disastrously wrong with this nation, when I tell you with this current, not even this nation, because it happens abroad too, when the the bodies haven't even been recovered and people are already start to prove their personal points, their political points, and use the name of the dead in order to boost a belief that they had or that they have, is just disgusting and twisted to me. And it shows you how morally, look, I'm sure if somebody looked at my life, they would think that I have some moral corruption. I'm sure I do. We all do. But we are, as a society, morally bankrupt when the first thing we see is a chance to make political points or make, hey, Ricky Robinson's in the chat. Thanks, Rick. Or make personal points and try to push this agenda. And Mike said it, media maggots are at it again. It is the media, of course, but it's also social media. It's also regular so-called people. And it's people like this monster.
I'm going to say it because y'all scary as fuck, and I don't give a damn. Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a fuck. And I said no. Nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for motherfuckers to what? CARE. I said what the fuck I said. I don't give a fuck, and minds are here with me. We voted the correct way. You reap what the fuck you sow. Just the night before the flash flood happened, y'all were okay with motherfuckers being stripped away from their motherfucking families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that. Be okay with not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy.
I'm not going to let her go on because she just absolutely nauseates me. Now, first and foremost, on top of just how morally decrepit and how horrible this person's black soul is, let's talk about the fact that you cannot pass in front of a high-powered magnet without having your cheeks ripped out of your head. Let's start there. Okay. The fact that anybody can immediately turn this into some sort of racial issue and not even, I just don't understand. Look, she went right to the politics, then she went right to race, and then she just kept going on and on. These people are just monsters that are in society. I will say, one of the things that I appreciate about social media is, and I said this a long time, they used to say racism was quiet. They used to say it was like, oh, it's said in the corner and it's not said out loud, da 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 da, and that was the problem. And now we talk about it, so it'll go away. Okay, I am so glad social media shows us who the fucking assholes are in this world, and this woman is at the top of the fucking asshole list. She is decrepit. She is morally corrupt. She is horrific, and I hope nothing like this ever happens to her. I hope her children live a healthy life or a happy life. I hope she never has to go through the pain that these families are going through. But man, I'll tell you right now, if there was a high-powered magnet in the right place, I wouldn't shed a tear. If she broke her toe on the table, I wouldn't shed a tear. There's not a lot of people that I wish bad things upon. But when you come out on social media in front of the entire world and show your ass of being a horrific, terrible piece of shit racist, I can't fucking help you. And I don't want to help you. I hope your children see you for the monster that they are and find somebody else in life to look up to. These people haven't even recovered the remains of their loved ones. You have another just fucking gem right here This is the pediatrician, Dr. Christina something or other, who says, may all visitors, children, non-mega voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County mega voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they vote for. Bless their hearts. This woman is a pediatrician talking about how they deserved it. The dress was too short, right? The fucking dress was too short. And it's okay to say it in this context because politics. And for those who are trying to like equate it to how ICE is removing illegals, there's a dramatic difference. There's a humongous fucking difference because those people who are being removed back to their country, the families, the kids, they can apply and get back here the right way. Their life is not being taken away from them. They're being held accountable for actual actions, for illegally crossing the border, for coming here. And I'm going to talk about the border and ICE and all that shit later. But I see those comparisons out there. This isn't even fucking close. It is amazing to me how these people have no issue showing you what they really are. And this woman's a pediatrician. She's supposed to, do no harm, right? Isn't that part of it? She's supposed to care about kids. But we saw out of her what we saw in COVID with the people saying, oh, the unvaxxed kids, well, they get what they deserve. Ha, ha, ha. Right? We saw that shit. Monsters. Absolute filth, garbage, and swill. Here's another fucking gem. And they walk among us. That's what's scary to me. They walk among us. And look, I can be harsh. I can be cruel. I can be mean. I have that potential in me, but I do it towards people that actually fucking deserve it, like them. Bad people. They are bad people. Here's another one.
I hear they're holding a ceremony so that he can sign this big, beautiful bill into law.
Nope. Sorry. That's
Do you think it's going to be outside? No, he wouldn't. But like on the 4th of July, be a cool time to do it. If anyone's like on the fence, we would support you. 100%.
We would support you while you were actually potentially executed. And this is, that's another one, right? This wasn't about the flooding, but this is about Trump signing the one big beautiful bill on July 4th, calling for violence from the left. They celebrate violence. They celebrate death of people they don't agree with. They celebrate children losing their lives. They don't care. And when they point to us and say, oh, the right's so violent. Oh, the right's so harsh. Oh, the right's so blah, 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 blah. Then you show them these fucking monsters. You show them the riots. You show them the damage, the Summer of Love, the BLM riots, and so on and so forth. Hey, look at the Weather Underground bombing Congress. You remember that? Don't let them ever, ever, ever win that argument that we're the violent ones. I will continue. Hold on one second because this is going to click up and then I'm going to get rid of her ugly mug. She's got a face like a freaking pug. But that's not what's important. Sorry, that was just really more of an observation than anything else. That wasn't really important to the conversation. So it's as we get into this, and like I said, I felt like these people need to be called out. I felt like, and I'm not the only one, and thank goodness, I'm sure all of you all believe too, that these monsters need to be exposed for who they are. And yeah, you know what? Maybe their bosses do see this, or maybe they're probation officers, or maybe they're mental health workers. Maybe somebody sees this and starts to get them help because they need it. They're fucking sick. So we have all of this tragedy. Oh, here's another one too. I just totally forgot I had this one tucked in here and ready to go. Destiny, Stephen Bonell II. I hear God killed those kids because they were using NordVPN promo code blah 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 to get around the porn ban. Again, how could you even think that? To Nord's VPN credit, they came out and denounced this dude immediately and said they don't work with him, but that's still not the point. The fact that you would suggest that is just disgusting. And I hope your words affect your life in a negative way, but don't affect your loved ones because they don't necessarily deserve it. So then you got to look at this and say, where's the good in all of this? How do you find some good? Because you need, every time there's a massive tragic event, because I still believe the majority of us have good in our heart for the most part, and that we're overall good people. I think there's obviously that 20% who are absolute scumbags. Yeah, I'm with you 100%, Mission Ready Men. This is why I love free speech. I want them to let their freak flags fly. Yeah, say everything. Say everything you feel, so we all know who you are. I'm totally with that. But I'm going to move on because I only got 6 minutes left in the segment. So, like I said, whenever there's a tragedy, we're always looking for the good. We're always looking for something to be better. We're looking for something to make ourselves feel good because we're just watching these horrible events unfold in front of our eyes. We saw it with North Carolina, and actually it's happening again. They're having a flooding situation there, and hopefully they make it through. You saw it post 9/11. You could look at all these tragic events and you immediately start hoping to see the good. And this time during the floods, we were introduced to the good, and the good's name is Scott Ruskin. He's 26-year-old rescue swimmer for the United States Coast Guard. He had a career and he had a job and decided that the Coast Guard was his calling instead. He decided he wanted to serve other people and make other people's lives better. And this is the gentleman right here, because I think everyone should see his face and it should be everywhere. They're crediting him with personally helped to evacuate 165 people. He was the first one on the ground in the flood zone. He started directing triage centers. He started directing rescue flights. He started directing everything. He's 26 years old. You would think all of that would just absolutely be the tip of the iceberg, but no. This was his first deployment as a rescue swimmer for the United States Coast Guard. When I first started in law enforcement, and others will know, they always say, eventually you'll hit that first jackpot. You'll absolutely hit that first call where everything goes to hell and you'll realize what you're actually in for. This guy got it on the first call. The first time the siren went off and he suited up, he got that call.
Ruskin joins us now. Scott, thank you for joining us this morning. Tell us what happened.
Hey, yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'll kind of give you guys a quick synopsis of what was going on. The Coast Guard launched us and decided to send a rescue crew from Air Station Corpus Christi at about 6:30, 7 a.m. on Friday, the 4th of July. I just happened to be on the duty crew with Ian Hopper, Blair Rougefort, Seth Reeves, some of our crew members in the Coast Guard. And they sent us out. We kind of encountered some pretty serious weather, some of the worst flying we've ever dealt with personally. It took us, which should have been an hour flight, probably took us about 7 or 8. Just to get into the landing zone. Once made about 4 different approaches trying to get in, we were able to get boots on the ground with the Air National Guard, Department of Public Safety for Texas, game wardens. And we decided to leave me on scene at Camp Mystic. That was kind of our main triage site we were trying to help out with. And we decided, hey, if we leave the rescue swimmer on scene, we'll have more space in our Dolphin MH-65. So based on that, I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there. As far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life. And I just kind of need to triage them, get them to a higher level of care, and get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters.
You want to talk about, first of all, at 26 years old, to have the wherewithal and the ability that this gentleman has. And Mission Ready some men said it in the chat room, and I agree. This man is an absolute hero. To have that on your first deployment. Now, and I get it, 26 years old, your cerebral cortex is developed. You're a much more mature person than a 21-year-old. You've had all of this training, you've had all of this experience. But when the defecation hits the oscillation in a fight or flight situation, your training experience and that little bit extra kick in. And that little bit extra decides how you're going to react in that situation. Anyone who's worked public safety, police, fire, law enforcement, paramedics, whatever, rescue swimmers, obviously, military, you kind of remember that moment, and you kind of remember that feeling, and it's scary. And for him to be the lifeline for 165 people on his first deployment, I don't know. Yeah, Canadian heavy haul. No pants can ever fit his balls. Yeah. And on top of taking care of himself to take care of all those people and then to let his helicopter go so they could evac more people while he stay on the ground, knowing at any point a second wave of flooding could come, or not knowing, I guess, is probably of what could come down. For him to do that is astounding, and I salute him. I know everybody at SHR salutes him, and all the public safety workers that are dealing with this down there, and the ones who do it every single day. But for him specifically, this was incredible. I hope he gets the recognition he deserves. He finished that interview and said, "I'm just doing my job." Um, which he was, but in this case, his job was to do the extraordinary, and he absolutely did that. So I am glad that we were able to find that story that makes us feel better about something that's horrific and just gives us a little bit of hope. And there it was. But I'm going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to go down. Yeah, I can talk about the Epstein files right here on the SHR Media Network. Stick around.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
And welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SH Media Network. SHR, I said. Oh, yeah. So, man, I'm so aggravated, and everybody else is aggravated too. Look, when Pam Bondi became the Attorney General, I said I had my apprehensions with her. One of my biggest apprehensions with her were her 2A and support of the red flag laws. That was one of the issues. I did not think, and this is on me, I did not think that she was going to be part of the cover-up. And of course, I'm talking about the Epstein files. After saying that the list was on her desk, and then she clarified that it was the file that was on her desk, whatever, she turned around and said, oh, yeah, by the way, the client's list doesn't exist, which brings up a whole other litany of problems. The video The video that was released is missing a minute. They showed a video in the jail to try to say that, hey, Epstein didn't kill himself. Here he is going to the jail and blah, 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 blah. But now we're to the point where you have to ask a bunch of questions, which leads to, well, if there's no client list, why was Epstein arrested? If there was no evidence to the crime, the bigger crime that was alleged, why was he arrested? Why were all these allegations, the Lolita Express and all the girls being brought to different places, all of these rich and important people? Now there's all this speculation about he was a CIA asset, he wasn't a CIA asset, he was FBI asset, he worked for Mossad, yada, yada, yada. Look, none of us know. None of us know who Jeffrey Epstein is beyond a pedophile and a pervert. Now, could he have been a giant psyop where his whole job was to bring in famous people and get them caught, and they're killing that? They're making that go away? Maybe. I will tell you right now that no matter what, the answer is unacceptable if these files were somehow made to go bye-bye. Now, somebody, and I speculated this on X earlier, and I'm not saying that there's not a larger job going on here, right? Maybe they're trying to get certain people to relax, so they'll maybe send what, I don't know, some 4D chess. They're doing this to carry people. Look, that potential is always there on I would say 2 to 3% right now. I would not say that that's a highly likely. There's no trust the plan. There's no wait for. I don't believe any of that shit anymore. Anyhow, I hate when people say trust the plan. All right. Ghislaine Maxwell, another one. Why is she in jail? If none of this evidence exists, why is she in jail? Now, I know they prove a few specific incidents, but there's a whole bunch of other victims out there. We were told several times that they couldn't release information to protect victims. Miss Giuffre died not getting justice. That's a whole questionable thing, and I can't even. I don't think there's enough tinfoil to put the hat on for that one. Epstein killed himself in 2019. The guards happen to have been on break. The cameras happen to have not been working. The footage we do have is this. Watch the timestamp on the bottom left corner. Nope. That's 11:58 and 57 seconds. 58:12. That's a minute. That is a minute. Now, you could ask yourself, and this was part of the video that was released by the DOJ. You could ask yourself or say, well, what can be done in a minute? A whole bunch of shit can be done in a minute if you know what you're doing. And a bunch of shit like, I don't know, somebody exiting. But why would you release this video? And I've already had somebody said, oh, they're sending the message. They can't say it yet, but they cut that minute because a minute means blah, blah, and Q. And then, look, I'm going just on the evidence that has been presented to me. This is fucked up. You don't release a video of one of the most questionable suicides in the country's history, a suicide that could have allegedly have led to the prosecution and arrest of numerous high-level people. We already know there was Prince Andrew. Well, who else was there, right? This is the speculation around this has always been immense on a level that cannot be explained. It is absolutely unbelievable. And everybody's outraged. But then you release this video and you have a minute gap and you don't expect people to get even more what's the word I'm looking for? Conspiratorial? You have a minute gap. And the video you're presenting is proof. Holy shit. If you ever try to present that to a jury, Oh, here's the video where everything's fine. Where's that minute? Don't worry about it. You're done. You're absolutely done. And I could say it a million different ways. I could say a million different reasons why all of this sucks. And all of it. Look, I'll say this. Redact the victims, release all the files. If everything's on the up and up, redact all the victims and release all the files. Because now there's nothing to hide. Maxwell's in jail. You got her on charges that were kind of low-end charges overall. Epstein's dead. So where's the files? Why can't you show us the files? Because the files tell more than what they want us to know. It's the same reason, the same fucking reason that the Biden laptop got held back. There are people, and look, I will say, is there a chance that evidence was removed before Pam Bondi took over and Cash took over and all that? Sure, they had plenty of time. The FBI, who put the laptop away for years so we don't involve with an election, could have absolutely removed and destroyed evidence. That's entirely possible. Could we get a bombshell case in a month or two saying, hey, look, we said that because we're prosecuting this and we needed to do that? Sure, that's possible. But right now, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Right now, it doesn't answer any of the questions that the victims, screw the American people, screw you, screw me. We don't deserve anything in that regards. I mean, yeah, we deserve clarity in government. We deserve that, but we don't necessarily deserve the answers as victims. The victims do. And to me, that's more important than anything else going on right now. Is those victims, alive or not, still deserve justice. And it's not being done. And we were promised it would be, especially from the FBI. And I'm not saying that everything else that the Cash and Dan Bongino are doing aren't perfect at the FBI. They're clearly making headway. They've gotten rid of some people. I get all of that. And they had a humongous row to hoe, so to speak. But that, and the other thing too, this is Pam's decision. This isn't their decision. She's the boss there. She's the one who owes America an explanation beyond what we got. Release the files. That's the explanation that you owe America as an appointed official, as the secretary. That's what you should be doing. That's what you owe America. You owe America on the clarity portion. The victims deserve justice. They deserve that. We deserve clarity. We deserve to know exactly why you made this decision beyond the bullshit that we were thrown today. There's a post by General Mike Flynn who put out earlier, what everyone is missing are the children who were abused by Epstein and others. I don't care whether he killed himself or not. For me, I want to believe Cash and Dan Bongino with the FBI's track record, as I said, and he added, Biden, Weiner, Seth Rich, and now Epstein, never mind the FBI's previous track record for telling the truth, it's hard to fathom that something else isn't going on here. 100%. Because until you prove otherwise, look, America has been absolutely conditioned to not trust the FBI because of the actions by the FBI. The same thing with the CIA, the same thing with the NSA. Their horrible behavior is what led to us not trusting them. Not what a politician told us. It's what we saw with our own eyes. BZ said, what happened to the 10,000 videos in which the FBI needed to examine? Trust me, having worked for the FBI, the director can task as many agents he or she wants. Yeah. Right. And I don't care if they never release the videos, because I understand why they can't be released. And nobody, I understand people like, I want to know the evidence. I would never want to see those videos. I don't think any part of those should be released because of what's on them. And those victims don't deserve to be outed like that. Even if they're blurred, whatever, it is just not, I don't think the human, I don't think most people could handle that. And it would just be horrific. So I don't want the videos released, but all the files, absolutely redact the victims. Let's go. Let's see it all. Everything you've ever had on him. Was he an asset? Wasn't he an asset? Did he work for a foreign government? Didn't he work for foreign government? Because for a guy that was just a stockbroker and one time gave some information back in, what was it, 98 to the FBI? Or I'm sorry, 08 to the FBI and he had to finish his probation down in Florida. He seemed to have a lot of really connected high-level friends to just be a nobody. And that's what they're kind of saying is, oh, it was all bullshit and he's just really a nobody and he just had a lot of money, yada, yada, yada. Lawsuits have been filed for the files. Answers have been demanded and we got absolutely frigging nothing. And you have to ask yourself, my first question, honest to God, was, holy shit, is it really that bad that they have to run a cover up? They have to run a smoke screen. Because what would we lose half the government? Would we lose half of the House of Representatives? I mean, how far up does it go? What other countries are involved? Is it close allies that would absolutely destroy the relationships with? There are so many questions that you have to ask when they're not being transparent. And when they're not being transparent, we're going to keep asking the questions and demanding answers. And they should be demanded. You should be writing everybody you can think of. Do a form letter. I don't give a shit. Blow up Pam Bondi's mailbox, the mailbox, before anyone flags me, with emails. Sign petitions. Do whatever. This should be one of the biggest incidents in the world because we were promised that the FBI was going to be fixed. And it's not fixed. And it being not fixed and it being the mess that it had been for years led to victims not getting justice in this situation. I don't care what anyone says. Until I'm proven wrong, that is what I say. And everybody, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care what color your paint job is. I don't care your socioeconomic status. Nothing. You should be outraged. You should be angered. What if that was your child? What if that was your sister? I have a daughter. I cannot imagine, and I don't want to imagine. I already worry enough about my kids to begin with. I don't need to add to it. But these families of these victims, it's just, victims always deserve justice. One way or another. I'm a firm believer in that. And it's the government's job to protect people and bring justice to people who are victimized, especially on this level. That should be the only thing that matters. And if it turns the whole fucking country upside down, so be it. Nothing should be bigger than the victims. And this being one of the most heinous things that can happen to a young human being. Disgusting, awful, terrible. They should be protected and they should get the justice they deserve. We will see. More will come out over time, as always. Or maybe it won't, because now I'm just not sure. I am just not fucking sure. So, my friend over the Heritage Foundation, Pete St. Onge, he's an economist. He's a damn good economist. And he has been nice enough to allow me to play his economic updates on the show. And I decided from time to time that I am going to play one because I thought this was a pertinent one. And this is something that is not getting talked about when it comes to our economy. So here is Pete St. Onge.
With the Federal Reserve doing its best to strangle the Trump boom, job creation is finally slowing, and yet job openings are soaring. So this is odd. Usually if jobs are bad, job openings are also bad, but it's possible that deportations are finally showing up in the data. So first, the numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics announced 147,000 jobs were created this month. This trounced estimates of 110,000 jobs, and it was a huge relief after the separate ADP report showed private jobs shrinking. Unfortunately, once you dig in, fully 90% of job creation was either government jobs, state and local this time, not federal, or social assistance in healthcare, what the Wall Street Journal calls the welfare industrial complex. So jobs, meaning private sector productive jobs that make up 85% of employment and 100% of wealth creation, grew by just 16,000. Now, some of this could be deportation. Studies are saying up to 1 million illegals have already left, as in 1 million fewer customers, which will take some jobs with it, fewer people going to McDonald's. Deportation has an impact even before they leave, so they'll stop spending to build cash for the move. Plus, now they're thinking of that $60 KFC family pack in terms of what $60 buys in Mexico. To illustrate, jobs in accommodation and food services, which are illegal heavy, were up 20,000 last month, but job openings rose 314,000 in food and accommodation, suggesting a whole lot of people quit. Indeed, according to the BLS, since Trump took office, job quits across the economy are up 700,000 per month, while foreign-born employment is down 1 million. Still, deportation, self or otherwise, is only so much because jobs are even slowing in high-skill areas like finance and IT. So these are barely growing according to BLS, and they're down according to ADP. So what's happening there could be high interest rates choking business investment, while Trump's growth agenda either has not yet kicked in or is getting blocked in Congress. So Trumponomics has 4 parts: cutting taxes, cutting red tape, cutting federal spending and workers, and an investment boom that was supposed to come from all of those with an assist from reshoring production in the trade war. So out of those 4, tax cuts are not here yet. Big Beautiful just passed with 90% of the tax relief simply extending previous rates. Deregulation is even slower. One survey estimates 40% of Trump's deregulation is currently blocked by left-wing judges. The rest has to navigate the painfully slow Administrative Procedures Act. Cutting government spending, of course, did not happen thanks to rhinos in Congress, and that leaves the last man standing: investment. Now, private investment is actually up 5% quarter on quarter, which is very impressive, especially considering reshoring projects from the trade war are mostly still in the planning phase. It takes time to even break ground on a new factory. Still, investment and job creation could be even faster if the Fed stops strangling rates when inflation is running at 1%. So as next, brought to you by I Trust Capital, we may be coming into the dip with Trump's agenda still on the planning board or stuck with the judges, while the Fed chokes growth in the here and now. The GDP Now tracker says we're currently running 2.5% GDP growth, which is solid if not epic, but we could see more slowing until either the Fed takes their foot off the brake, left-wing judges stand down, or we start breaking ground on some factories. A new episode of the podcast just dropped, rounding up all the videos from last week. Search Peter Sounds wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
And thank you to Professor St. Ange for that. I appreciate that very, very much. We're back here on the Edge of Liberty on the SHR Media Network. I was very, very
With the
happy
Federal
when
Reserve
he said
doing
I could
it-
actually use his videos. So that, it's awesome. Pete's actually a nice guy. I followed him for a long time. I've talked to him in private chat a bunch of times. He's actually a really good dude. And he can say a bunch of economic stuff that I could only hope to understand. And I have to sit here with my crayon drooling, like the fool that I am. Speaking of fools, I titled this segment, When You Sweep and a Bass Flops in Front of You. So let's go down to LA, where in the state of California, as my good friend BZ says, always spell it with a K. California, which has just become it's not even the toilet anymore. It's the trap underneath the toilet. It's where all the sludge gets caught. That's what California is being turned into intentionally by the Democrats, the governor, and the number one communist mayor herself, Mayor Karen Bass, or as I like to call her, Small Brain Bass. I don't know why that just makes me giggle, but it does. So Homeland Security, Border Patrol shows up in LA trying to sweep at a park. And this park is allegedly where a lot of illegals are hanging out. I'm sure they had much better intel than I did. First of all, They're not just going to show up for absolutely no reason. There's a reason that they're there. A lot of people are like, why were they even there at 9 in the morning? Well, I'm sure they have intel. I'm sure they know who they're looking for, and I'm sure they can find them. They showed up in force, and I'm going to show you the overhead video because they were not screwing around. Watch this. So you could say, fairly certain, that they're there for a legitimate reason. They have an idea why they want to be there. They know they have to bring enough resources for the task that is being presented to them. And what better way to help them out if you're a Democrat, and by help them out I mean make it so much more difficult to even function, than if you are the mayor of Los Angeles, one of the largest cities in the country, and you have been gaslighting your people about the immigration issue. Then you do this. You show up and you start demanding answers in the middle of a law enforcement investigation and operation.
I am going to say. Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing. Okay. All right. Mayor Bass. Mayor Bass.
Any comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass,
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now.
And they don't work for you. Other than maybe when you pay taxes, then you have just as much say in the matter as I do, because they are not there doing anything other than enforcing federal law. And I think Gavin Newsom said, because the chief of Homeland Security actually said, hey, we don't work for you. And he said, well, you should check your pay stub. And I said, as a governor, he doesn't work for you. And you're speaking as a governor when you make that comment from your official platform. The same thing as a mayor. He doesn't work for you. They work for the federal government under the direction of the president. They have the right to be anywhere and enforce federal law. Even if you just say, no, honey, boo-boo, we're going to make all these laws, yada, yada, yada. They have the right to be there. They are enforcing federal law, plain and simple, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. To say they need to leave right now is, I mean, that is the equivalent of like a 3-year-old like holding their breath. I don't understand. I do understand. It's all political showmanship. This is to show Democratic voters, look, we're doing something. We're sticking it to the man. Well, you are the man, and you supported the man who created this problem, because once again, may I remind all of you, Newsom, Bass, and all these other idiots with a D next to their name, your guy caused this problem and you supported it. I will say that again. Your guy, Joe Biden, well, the auto pen, caused this problem and you fucking supported it. But it is a problem. And it is a problem that needs to be dealt with. Look, as Professor St. Ange said in the video, over 1 million have self-deported. Great. That's a start. But there are estimates anywhere from 10 to 30 million that made it through. And we have no way of knowing because of what Joe Biden did to the border and encouraged. Mission Ready Men, good evening. Thank you for being here, sir. So when they go out there and they perform these acts, they perform these kabuki theater, to steal another BZ quote, you have to ask yourself why. And Jersey Joe said on Reaver Common Sense tonight, every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, now on the East Coast, he's talking about the Axios report, where Democrats are essentially, their base is telling them to break the law, get arrested, and even up to getting shot if it helps the agenda. By the way, we know that they're answering to the 20% of their party, which is even more unbelievable. It's all the Democrats have catered to since 2008, the 20 loud percent of their party, and they've ignored the rest. So that's why they're going out there. That's why, and I called this, by the way, I called this months ago. I said, look, it was the New Jersey incident. I said, these people are trying to get arrested because they're trying to duplicate what happened to Trump. The only difference is when Trump was arrested, it was absolute political lawfare, and it was a target on him. They're trying to make themselves a target, and it's clearly fabrication. It's not hard to see how fabricated this is. She was trying that today. I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to demand answers. Hey, you know what? There's a federal investigation. Get the fuck out. I don't care if you're the mayor. I don't care if you're the governor. If we're conducting a federal operation investigation, that means the criteria has been met legally for us to do so. You are now impeding that investigation, but we're not going to arrest you because that's what you want. No, we're going to tell you to give me back my damn phone, and I have to go and I don't answer to you, which is exactly what transpired there. Now, I wish this was enough, but it wasn't. On Saturday evening, in northern Texas, outside a DHS facility, the local police responded for a suspicious person. When the officer, and I think it's the Alvarado PD officer, showed up to the scene, he saw a man walking away from the DHS facility. He appeared to be armed. He started giving orders. The man turned around and fired, hit the officer in the neck. The man was later arrested, as were 9 other people donning body armor and rifles. It was an ambush situation. An ambush situation that was supposed to be against federal authorities, and unfortunately a local officer was the one who got shot. And nobody should be getting shot. But this, again, is the doing of the Democrats. And they're not saying necessarily, you have them saying things like, resistance and yada, 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 get in their face, all the different terminologies, if you will, that essentially says violence without saying the words violence. But that's what they said, violence. They're calling for violence, disruption, make it to blood in the streets. That was one of the other quotes, blood in the streets. And then you had a second incident today where an individual opened fire at a border patrol facility in McAllen, Texas. A 27-year-old man wearing body armor and a rifle decided he was going to assault the facility, and he was ventilated by the officers that were there, DHS and local, I believe, and is no longer wasting oxygen on this planet. But once again, the Democrats own this. Their incitement of the violence, how they've treated ICE, how they look. If you have a political argument, you stick with the president, right? You have the political argument with the president. They've demonized law enforcement for years, all the way back to the BLM riots, Freddie Gray. Beyond that, Trayvon Martin. They've demonized law enforcement because it's a strong man. There's not a straw man. There's not one individual cop for the most part, with the exception of a few that they've zoned in on. They go after the strong man. We have too many police. Police are wrong for this. Police are wrong for that. They shouldn't be I shouldn't be deporting people. That's what they fucking do. They're the 18th biggest military in the country. No, they're not a military. They are not a military. They're federal agents. They're not a military. But guess what? The budget would not have to have been increased by them if they didn't let 15 to 30 fucking illegals, a million illegals into the country. It wouldn't have had to happen. We have seen the degradation of so many things as a result of this. It's just like when they say, oh, they're ripping them off Medicare. No, they're ripping the illegals off Medicare that shouldn't be here to begin with. They're so afraid. They're so afraid of admitting what's realistic, that it shouldn't have happened, because A, their party will turn on them, but B, it will screw up the redistricting, which is why Trump's talking about keeping illegals out of the census. Because it does. It affects redistricting. There are estimates that if you removed all the illegals from the voting rolls or from the census and it redistrict everything how it should be for voters only, that California alone would lose 5 seats. Think about that. An electoral vote. Think about that. So that's why they're putting up so much of a fight. It's because they don't, I've said before, Those illegal immigrants, Kilmar, Abreu, Garcia, and all the other ones that they're touting as heroes and victims, they don't care about them. They care about what they bring them. They use them. They're like a shoehorn to them. They're nothing. And they keep trying to act like they're compassionate when they are not even close to compassionate. This has nothing to do with compassion. It has to do with winning elections. And it's even funnier to me that as much as we're talking about the Mexicans are the ones who are getting the most upset. There, don't get me wrong, there are other groups of people, but because the large Mexican population in the southern part of America, and that's the most flags we saw during the riots, right? There was a riot this week in Mexico City. Did you know that? I didn't know that until I looked it up today. Somebody sent me a link and I said, there's absolutely no way. Oh no, there was. This is Mexico City. You're never going to guess what they're mad about. Oh, look, a Palestinian flag. You saw that. And they're breaking what's out of Starbucks. Yep, they're attacking the Starbucks. Spray painting it, all the things. And I bet you, I wonder how many of these people, I hope they geofence the cell phones and find out how many of them were in the LA riot. So look at this. Do you know what they were protesting? The gentrification of Mexico. The fact that Americans are coming down there and buying land and spending money and raising prices in Mexico. They were shouting things like "Gringos Go Home" and other anti-American slogans. They burned effigies near the U.S. Embassy, and there were clashes with local authorities at the U.S. Embassy. The president, Claudia Sheinbaum, condemned xenophobia and acknowledged a housing crisis. But at the end of the day, it's anti-American. They don't want us. They don't want our money. They want a higher tax on tourism. They don't want us to be able to buy land. This is just, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's ironically ironic. All right. For them, after protesting and fighting to stay here, their brethren, their relatives, their whatever country folk are down there saying they don't want us there. Why don't we make a trade? Look, we won't come down there on vacation. We'll give you Americans are going to go down there and do the jobs that Mexicans don't want. Ricky Robinson in the chat room. That was absolutely incredible. Americans are going to do the jobs Mexicans don't want. But why don't we make a trade? We'll give you all the Mexicans back, the illegals. I don't want you to give up the American citizens. They're welcome to stay and be as successful as they can. And we'll take all the Americans back and we'll make a swap. We're just not going to come down there and do the touristy thing anymore. So you'll lose all that money. So all those resorts will go to shit. We're not going to buy and sell and trade with you anymore, because if you don't want us there and we don't want you here, then why should we even do that sort of business? And the list goes on and on and on. And I'm sure some of this stems to the ICE deportations, and I'm sure some of it is just all Antifa-esque bullshit. But at the end of the day, some sort of lesson has to be learned. And it just doesn't seem to be being learned by the left. My whole show tonight is how the left has just been unbelievably monstrous, horrific, terrible, soulless, heartless, and just the slime of the earth. And I've given you so many examples this evening, all the way down to the left in Mexico, of just how they try to manipulate, and what they can't manipulate, they'll destroy, and what they will stand on any dead person to further their cause, or think that they're furthering their cause. And that's the difference. They can point to us all the time. They have all these guns and they're violent and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we may have a bunch of guns. We don't use them unless we have to. We don't go attacking federal buildings for no reason. We don't go, buffoon of the week, welcome to the chat. I will tell you how I really feel. Right? Yes, January 6th happened and I wasn't happy about January 6th, but other than an unarmed woman getting shot in the neck and then police officers dying after the fact that the left tried to correlate to the actual incident itself, it was trespassing and a little bit of vandalism. Should people have been held accountable? Sure. The same way that somebody should be held accountable for trespassing. Maybe a citation, maybe 5 days, community service, something simple. If you want to go that route, that's reasonable. But you can't take that one day and say that it umbrellas over all of this horrifically bad bullshit that we see nationwide day to day from the left. And you can't let people win that argument with you. It is absolutely, you just can't. You throw that in their face. Summer of Love, BLM riots, the immigration riots in LA. You look at all of these different things. Look at the streets of Chicago. Where was it? 24 people died, murdered. Look at the streets of Philadelphia with all those people overdosing and the violence. You look at everywhere the left has allowed to erode. You look at what's happening in New York right now. This is their utopia. And you don't ever let them fucking forget it. Because they created this, but we're not going to live with it. That's going to be it for me. Look, couple shows I'm going to tell you about, and one fantastic network, which is, of course, our wonderful friends over at KLRN Radio. While he's in the room, don't forget to check out Buffoon of the Week as well. Gene does show up and gets his harumph. And make sure you say hi for me when you go over there and you check out their shows. Be like, Sean sent me, and then they pay me a quarter or a nickel. Or actually, they don't pay me. I have to pay Rick in order to be able to say their name, their call signs. But I don't want to. I really feel bad about that. Every Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, down on the East Coast, you have the Reaver of Common Sense, my boy Jersey Joe, who has just been kicking ass lately, both on camera and behind the scenes. Tuesday and Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You have Bazzi's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, the bulbous one himself, large and in charge. Make sure you check him out. And hey, Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. You have Mission Ready Men, who will be back this Thursday. And of course, the Lost Wanderer himself on Sunday nights on our YouTube. We've been giving the graces of having him come over and bestow his wisdom to our YouTube on Sunday nights, and we're greatly appreciative. I'll be back because I'm here every Monday and Wednesday, so I'll be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 the East Coast. For more of this sort of jackassery, please like and subscribe wherever you're following from. Drop a comment, drop a whatever. Say you hate me. I don't care. Just say something. Just don't call me late for dinner. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the week, folks. Don't do anything I'd do.